Episode 4 of Sleepy Hollow, The Lesser Key of Solomon. This episode gave us a few, great plot points, in my opinion. We got the revelation that the sheriff wasn't just looking after Abby, but he was also working with Abby's sister. We actually, learned that, some of the factions that were in the war during Ichabod's time still exist even to this day and, still carry on some of the mystic traditions and helping the demons rise. And we got to learn the name of the main demon, Moloch. This episode I thought was really well done. Last week it was obviously shown that Abby's sister would be pretty important in this episode, and she's in the entire episode. I thought it was really well done. you know like above all else, they're dealing with demons and ancient factions that still exist even to today. And even with all of that, sibling rivalry still takes the cake over everything else. And I love the interaction, between the sisters. And when they first get to the cabin and they find out that Abby's sister and the sheriff were actually really, really close, I thought that was a great twist because it wasn't something I was expecting, in the slightest. Obviously the sheriff, he was into all the mystical stuff, and Abby's sister believed in it all. She kind of went the opposite way of Abby. Abby kind of denied it, and her sister accepted it. So it's really cool that they tied it in together. That he wasn't just working on his own and finding out all these different things. He was actually working with Abby's sister, and he kind of helped them both out in the way that they actually needed, because he helped Abby, who was obviously in denial about it, and so he helped her, like correct her ways. But he helped her sister in the exact opposite way, where she decided, I saw this thing, I know what I saw. And he said, I believe you, and he helped her, and he worked with her and had her actually travel across the world to find these artifacts. And the artifacts, which I'm hoping they do keep throughout the rest of the series, I thought was a great addition to the episode, because it's not just they're going to be dealing with demons, they're going to be dealing with supernatural items. And what was really great about this episode was they find the sexton, which is actually a projector with a map on it, and it kind of leads them into the battle with the, I can't think of the name of the faction, but the German faction from the war, who is basically keeping their tradition going, where they look for these weapons and they're the bad guys, so they're of course trying to raise the demons, and specifically the demon Moloch, who is the sort of blurry figure that we couldn't identify before until the end of this episode. But I hope that comes into play, because in this episode they fight against humans, but it would be great to see if they have to go up against other demonic creatures, and they have to defeat the creature, and also get the specific device. And what was even greater than that, I initially thought the sexton was the device, but it just led to the device. So they have to get like the primary device to get to the actual supernatural device. So I thought that was kind of cool, and it wasn't just they have the device and it was stolen. They had the device, and it was a cool little callback, because I want to say it was 2 episodes ago we learned that Ichabod is or Ichabod has a photographic memory. So it was cool that they brought that back. And once again, the sibling rivalry, they're yelling at each other. And he's, the whole episode, he was kind of separating them. And even before they actually saw each other, I enjoyed how he was kind of stepping between Abby and the woman who used to be her sister's foster mother. Because, that woman was, like a horrible woman. Abby saw that she was treating the kid bad, but she had like a brand new car outside, and the woman was basically trying to defend herself, but she just like called out Abby based on what her sister said. So it was kind of cool how like Ichabod, like at the very end, like he literally stepped in front of Abby so she like wouldn't just like punch that old lady in the face, which I thought was really nice how subtle he did it. But it was just really cool that he did it, because he obviously could read the situation, and he knew how stressful things were already were for Abby. and the woman obviously was just making things worse. So I kind of enjoyed that little scene. But once the sisters met and they were arguing, he calmed them down with the guns. He got them to stop yelling. When they were torturing the guy, he got them to basically shut up when he was trying to figure out how to do the map or try to remember every specific detail of the map. And I thought it was just kind of funny how he was the middle ground, because he is the calm guy, and you know you die and then wake up centuries later. You instantly have an acceptance of certain things, and also he was obviously acceptant. He always obviously accepted things during the war because that was his position. And it's just kind of cool how just like other episodes, once again he tied in, and how he made the Boston Tea Party. I thought that was a funny little thing. And just the episode altogether, I thought wrapped up really well. It had pretty cool action. With the guys coming in, they attack the cabin, and then the end of the episode, they kind of have their struggle with the book, and they had some pretty good CG at the end. I thought that was really interesting, just how it looked with like all the creepy. At first, they seemed like they were skeletons, but then it was like they kind of had flesh and stuff like that. But I thought that was pretty interesting CG, and it was just an interesting scene. They threw the one guy into the fire, then their sister shot the other guy, and ultimately they destroyed the book, so they stopped Malik from being raised. At least for this episode, but I'm sure at some point he will be introduced. It'll probably be like season finale type stuff where um, they have to solve the problem and ultimately kill him, but they still have to deal with the horsemen. And that was one thing I thought about in this episode, was we haven't really gotten to see the horsemen in a while, since episode one, unfortunately. But every episode, even without the horsemen in it, it's still a great episode. It's just that when you think of Sleepy Hollow, or at least when I do, you think the Headless Horseman, and obviously with it being a TV show, it couldn't be as simple as the Horsemen's just chasing them down every episode. So it makes perfect sense. But I'm really excited to see him come back, because I really enjoyed the Headless Horseman, and it was cool, how he was just going after them, and how he would like have guns and stuff at the end was pretty interesting too. But of course, I prefer him just using the axe. I think that's much cooler, because it kind of gives that horror feel. Like I guess a good example would be like Michael Myers or Jason, where they have like a knife or a machete, and they're like just that slow character, but even when they run at you, like you could be taken off and they'll wait to run for like 10 minutes for no apparent reason, and they'll still catch up to you, and they'll be a huge problem because they're just incredibly strong. So he has that aspect, but it's just even cooler because it's the Headless Horseman, and we now know that he is actually the Horseman Death. And that kind of leads me into the preview, which I feel like I have to talk about a lot for next week's episode, because I believe it's Pestilence. So this kid who comes, or at least looks like he came from the same time as Ichabod, has a plague. It might not be like the plague, but he has a plague, of course. And so they showed a lot of images of someone on a horse, so I believe it's Pestilence, which gets me really excited, not just because we get a horseman, but because we get a new horseman. And so they'll have to explain how the kid came to be in modern times, and who raised the, I guess, the next horseman, or is it sort of a weird cycle type thing where there can only be one at a time because they don't have enough power or something like that. But however they explain it, I'm really excited for that, because like I said, we haven't had the Headless Horseman since episode one, and even though it's not him, it's probably a bit more exciting because it's a different horseman. So I'm really excited for that. But I feel like I just had to mention that because it kind of ties in with my point of us not getting the Headless Horseman. But back to this actual episode, I thought it was just really well done. And one of my favorite parts, of course, was the beginning. That was just perfect. I thought that was just a perfect scene. It was so funny. And Ichabod's telling this story about losing his wife and stuff like that. And then of course, at first I thought he was just talking to Abby. They were talking about something. And then you hear the woman crying, and I had all these different thoughts in my head, like, is he Like, did he like somehow get onto like a random web chat type thing, or is he somehow on the radio, like randomly like telling his love story? So you just hear the woman on the radio, and then you find out it's the woman from OnStar, and I just thought that was hilarious because he's telling her this story, and she's in tears, and then he's like thank you for like unlocking the door and telling me about the entertainment system. I just thought that was perfect, and how she like still says the line like thank you for choosing OnStar, and she's just like bawling over the speakers. I just love that whole scene. I thought it was hilarious, but like that, and of course the other funny moments. um, just everything. I feel like it really wrapped up. Like I said, we had great plot points. Finding out that the sheriff was actually working with both sisters the whole time. The introduction of the items, or at least the sort of map-based items and the supernatural items. Like I said, I really hope that does stay in, because for some reason I feel like an arms race type of episode would be really cool against a supernatural being rather than just humans, which I also did enjoy, because of course with this episode being the first with humans as the enemies, it was actually a brand new aspect, and these guys weren't just like you know we have to do this or that. They were they were invest. They had machine guns and stuff. They attacked the cabin, and like they were well organized just for these three guys. And what I loved was when they were torturing the guy, and he says like we're your friends, we're your neighbors, we're all over the place. It does give implications for what could happen in the future. And like Abby's sister said when she's on the phone, after what he said, you can't trust anyone because anyone could be in this faction. And of course, they won't be like the headless horseman with like a bald head and a tattoo right on the back with a perfect circle around it. You'll never know. And I just thought that was great, like because when Orlando Jones, because I don't know why I can't remember his name ever. I feel like they don't ever say it. But when Orlando Jones goes to the main guy's house, and the guy says like this is a match for the fingerprints and stuff like that. He says like this guy's a music teacher. What is going on? And then they go in the basement, and there's like organs and jars full of all types of crap. It's one of those things that I just really love in good TV shows, where it's like we're all over the place, and like there's only really three good guys in the whole show who are actually able to fight against all of these random bad guys who are all over the place. So it gives that sense that the bad guys have the upper hand, even though we haven't really seen them get the upper hand yet. So I'm really excited for where that'll lead the show. And something completely random, I got a comment on my last review where someone asked like how long will Ichabod stay in his regular clothes. I guess this kind of also ties into the preview where he asked Abby, do you think I look weird? Or he said, I forgot how he exactly said it, but of course it was like, do you think I look weird, in my clothing in modern times? And I was hoping, because I thought about that in the last episode, because this is, episode 4. It's been about, as far as, in the actual show, it's been, I want to say 2, maybe 3 weeks or something like that. And, every episode we get, even if it hasn't been, I'm completely wrong, it has been at least a week. And, he's still in his clothes every single day. And it'll be interesting to see him, get more accustomed to, modern times. And I don't know if he will actually change. I prefer him in the old clothes because I personally always thought, those old type of clothes look kind of cool. Some of them can look really stupid. Like he doesn't have like the ruffle, like super long thing. I can't think of the name of it, but it just goes down your neck and it's just ruffles and stuff like that. He does look, like a typical person from that time, and it just looks cool. I like the jacket too. I think it looks really nice. But over time, I think we'll get to see him, get accustomed to modern day and wear different clothing and things like that. I think he'll still look, he'll still have the same style. So it'll be like he'll have, a regular black jacket, but it'll actually have like a zipper instead of just an old jacket with only buttons. And I don't know about the pants. I don't know, modern, like old pants and then pants we have now. That's such a huge difference. So who knows what they'll do with that. But I think it'll be funny once we get to actually see, him go out and try to figure out how to dress the part of a normal person. But I guess once again back to this episode. Everything I think wrapped up really well. Favorite part is definitely the reveal that the sheriff was working with Abby's daughter the whole time. The sisters' dialogue was great. I think both the actresses have great chemistry. Um, the bantering was like typical sibling rivalry stuff. I thought was great, and the ending I thought was really good. Not just learning the name of the demon, but between the sisters, where Abby says, she basically resolves the issue with her sister, and obviously they went through this whole episode, so her sister knows she does actually believe, and Abby's trying to help her sister get out of the psych ward, so she wants to have um, conservativeship or something like that over her sister, so that they can actually be together, and so they're gonna go to court and all of that, and I think that was really great rather than her sister being there and then getting locked up. So she, like she said, in about 6 months her sister will be able to get out, and they'll pretty much be together the whole time. But I'm sure we can expect to see Abby's sister, who I think I just remembered the name was Jennifer, if that's right. Hopefully, or I'm sure we'll get to see her in tons of other episodes before she's actually released. So I'm excited for that, because those three as a team I think work very well together. The sisters, when they kind of have their sibling rivalry stuff, Ichabod's there to be the middle ground to break them up and get everyone focused, and he's also there for extra dialogue just because of him being so old. Like, I'm just gonna go with her name being Jennifer now. But when she asks him, or when he first tells her that he's from the past and stuff, or when Abby recaps it for him, and she actually asks him, what battalion, and who's like your chief officer. I thought that was just an interesting thing that her sister would ask, because she seems like she has interesting military training, even though she doesn't. Because if you notice, she also talks about like the specifics of the Uzi. I thought that was just something like Abby doesn't do that type of stuff. She's a cop, and then just her sister seems like she's somehow like above that, and she has like all this weird military training. So maybe they'll explain that, like how she has this knowledge, or if it's just her being her and trying to deal with all this supernatural stuff. She figures I need to know all types of knowledge, which she does. So I'm interested to see what other stuff she might know that we wouldn't really expect from a woman who's pretty much deemed crazy and put in a psych ward. So I'm excited to see just everything about Jennifer, if once again if that's right. But I'm excited to see where everything goes with her, and definitely with the team all together. Once Jennifer gets out of the asylum, once they are actually like a three-man team, for the rest of the season, however many episodes that might be once she's actually released, it'll be great to see how that plays out and how she's able to help Abby and Ichabod, through their differences, because there'll of course be episodes where it'll just be the sisters because something happened to Ichabod, or it'll be like the previous episodes where it's Abby and Ichabod because something happened to Jennifer, and then Jennifer and Ichabod when something happens to Abby. So it'll be cool to see, whenever we get that, it'll be great to see, that sort of triangle effect where different characters get cast off. And even when, maybe it's just Jennifer because both Ichabod and Abby, get captured or something like that. So I'm excited for wherever things go. But, this episode overall I thought was great. Great twist. Amazing, kind of like the first part, honestly. It was so funny. It's great for all comedy. Just like it beats everything else through the rest of the episode. But, as usual, great comedy, great dialogue, great plot points. And I just can't wait to see what happens with next week's episode, which I really am hoping they didn't tease it just showing random images and it doesn't involve a new horseman, because I hate when shows do that. But it does build suspense, and I'm hoping for it. But comment below, let me know what you thought of this episode, where you think things are gonna go with Abby and her sister, and do you think that the devices, the little maps and hidden items and things like that will stay in the series? And also, do you want them to, or did you think it was just sort of a one-off that you could take it or leave it? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.